Welcome and good morning. This is Dr. McDaniel at GYN Corner. I'm a board certified obstetrician gynecologist in New York City, and I'm bringing to you all things health related for women. So I'm still chatting or presenting information on anti-inflammatory foods. Today's topic is fatty fish. Now, fish has gotten a bad rap over the last maybe 12 years or so because the Food and Drug Administration put out a lot of public health announcements about how fish have mercury levels now. They have increasing levels of mercury content due to pollutants in the rivers and lakes and in the ocean. So the fattier the fish, the fat is where toxins are sequestered or stored, and the fattier the fish, the higher the level of mercury content. However, fatty fish is really helpful for our bodies in terms of anti-inflammatory. So we have to balance out how much fish we get, what types of fatty fish we take in, and the sources. So I saw a documentary a while back that actually outlined a lot that we really should not eat farmed fish. We should eat fresh wild caught fish, because the farmed fish, a lot of these places, especially like Vietnam, a lot of the Asian countries, and the Eastern European countries, fish coming from Asian countries and from the Baltic Sea, they do not have a lot of regulation on how the fish is treated, how they're fed, the farmed fish. So a lot of the foods that they're given, they have not just pollutants, but they have chemicals in them. And then so the areas where they are farming them, they're farmed in like sequestered off lakes and rivers, and there's a lot of pollutants. There are a lot of chemicals that come off of the foods that they're given, and it's really unhealthy. And in fact, the Nordic countries, I believe it was Norway, the fish stores, fish markets, they are, by law, they have to warn women or anyone who purchases the fish. They have to warn them that due to the pollutants and the chemical derivatives in certain farmed fish, that they are not recommended to eat that fish if they are pregnant or breastfeeding. So that's a law. So, honestly speaking, if you're not supposed to eat a food because it's really harmful if you're pregnant or breastfeeding, like, who wants to eat it at all, even if you're not pregnant or breastfeeding, because it's not good for you. So I know specifically certain countries do not, they do not take in, they do not import farmed fish from Vietnam. It's had so many health issues with chemicals that Vietnam is not allowed to import fish to certain countries. Of course, they bypass that by importing it to, say, country A, and then country A repackages it and imports it to country B. That's a whole nother story. But basically, if you go to the website for the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, they have charts of which fish are allowable to eat, say, 5 days a week versus 3 days a week versus once a week. And it's based on the pollutant content and the mercury content. So that's helpful to look at. But all things considered, fatty fish is really good for us health-wise because it has really strong antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects. And of course, as I mentioned previously, inflammation is the source of the bulk of the chronic diseases of modern society. So diabetes, obesity, hypertension, cancers, all of the autoimmune disorders, even Alzheimer's and like cataracts and glaucoma. So fatty fish are highly anti-inflammatory because of the omega-3 fatty acids. And there are two types of fatty acids. One is the EPA, the other is DHA. EPA being the short for eicosapentaenoic acid. I can never remember it, so I always have to have it written out. And DHA is the docosahexaenoic acid. So those are essential fatty acids that are present in the fish. And they produce, the EPA specifically produces two compounds. Their names tell you how they work. So protectins and resolvins. So they help to resolve or to decrease inflammation in our bodies. And the protectins protect against inflammatory aspects, chronic inflammation in our body, which predominantly is caused by sugars. And the most common sugar is just carbohydrates. And the best fish, now if you eat fatty fish, the best fish to eat are smaller fish because they have less fat that can store toxins, but they have enough fat that they produce the omega-3 fatty acids. And of course, all of these you can just buy a supplement. You can buy omega-3 fatty acid. You can actually buy EPA, DHA. You can specifically buy resolvins and protectins. But if you get it as a whole food, it's really going to be better for you in general to just take in all of the substances that we need through our foods. And the best fish are going to be sardines, tuna, not the albacore tuna, but what I call the dirty tuna. So it's the brown tuna, not the white tuna. But sardines, tuna, mackerel, herring, those you can buy just in small little tins at all of the grocery stores. I shop at Costco a lot. I'm not doing a commercial for Costco, but I do shop at Costco, sometimes at BJ's. And I know at Costco's I buy the sardines in the tin, and I've bought mackerel, herring. I buy sardines regularly, and I've bought herring in the tin. You can also buy anchovies and mackerel in the tins at all the stores. And then of course, in addition to tuna, you can also get salmon in the tin and sturgeon. And of course, salmon is a really, really good fatty fish as long as you get the wild caught. Make sure it's wild, not farm fresh, because farm fresh salmon is really, it's almost unhealthy, the poor practices that these farms have. But the fresh is good. And then of course, sea bass is also really good for you. And it's the same story as the berries, because the anti-inflammatories increase insulin sensitivity, decrease blood glucose levels. They also decrease inflammation, and that can be seen as decreasing inflammatory markers in the blood. So ideally, even if you don't look at the chart for the Food and Drug Administration, if you just resolve yourself to eating some form of fatty fish 2 to 3 times a week, one serving, you'll be in good standing. So I hope that's helpful information on fatty fish. Oh, and I almost forgot. If you cannot eat fish, you could look into buying algae oil. So some people will just, because they either don't like it or they don't, it doesn't sit well with them, or potentially they're allergic. Algae oil is an alternative. And if you do the supplementations, as I said, 2 to 3 times a week, just eating the fish is good. You can also just buy like fish oil supplements, DHA and EPA. You can get those 500 milligrams a day of those supplements is helpful. So I hope that's been useful information on why we should all eat fatty fish or its equivalents. So thank you for joining me here at the corner. This is Dr. McDaniel. Make sure you click the like, subscribe, and follow buttons, and post comments if you have questions that were not addressed in today's presentation, or on topics that you're interested in and how it can benefit us as women in our health. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.